States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Those of you who have been waiting for us, we just had a report from our auditors, which comes to us about once a year, and that's where we were for the last half an hour or more. And prior to that, there was an executive session, and we ended the executive session with Mr. King and Mr. Sullivan making the motions. Public comment. Anybody have anything to say on anything? It doesn't have to be on the agenda. Paula, I know you're here for something. Please come on up here.
I just came just to get information to see what it's all about.
Well, come on up and tell us what you need.
I'm just here for information just to see how it runs. That's it.
Okay, all right. Okay. Jim, anything? All right, carrying right on. I need approval of the minutes of January 27th.
I read them today. They look fine. I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So carried, thank you. Communications. I received questions from a number of people that are basically fishermen who enjoy fishing at Long Pond. And apparently there were a number of no trespassing, permit only, yada, 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 all the way along the Route 293 along Long Pond. So I got a hold of the garrison commander, Colonel Marson, and I questioned him. I says, as part of our agreement, when West Point took over Long Pond, that we would still have our fishing winter and summer rights. And I will tell you exactly what he wrote back to me. Fishing for local residents is authorized. They have, the email below indicates that no one we can find on West Point put up the signs. The signs will be removed, and we will watch for their reappearance if that occurs. So those signs meant nothing, and I did notice already they're all down. They're the ones that were along Long Pond. So we don't have any ice on it that the fishermen can go on, but that's their problem. I received a letter from Carry the Load, which is an organization. I'm writing this, I can read the whole letter, it's not that long. I'm writing this letter in an effort to gain approval to have the Carry the Loads National Relay Walk through the town of Highlands and surrounding area. Carry the Load is a not-for-profit dedicated to providing active, meaningful ways to honor and celebrate the sacrifices made by our nation's heroes, military, veterans, first responders, and their families. Our national relay begins at the end of April and spans the month of May, traveling across the country, walking and cycling to honor our nation's heroes. As part of our East Coast route, we will be walking through the town of Highlands on April the 27th, 2020. We will begin walking at 12 p.m. from the cemetery at West Point onto Main Street upon leaving the West Point grounds, and will continue on Old New York 218 before merging onto 9W before arriving at the Fort Montgomery Fire Department at 1:45. From the fire department, we will promptly depart at 2 p.m., continuing down 9W towards Stony Point. We are expecting to have approximately 20 to 25 participants walking with us from West Point to the fire department, and then less than 10 participants from the fire department onwards to Stony Point. All participants will remain on sidewalks where applicable, obey all traffic laws and crossroads when necessary, and always at designated crosswalks. Because of this, we will not be requesting any police assistance. Well, Chief, I don't see how they're going to do that without some assistance, so I sent this letter to Chief Perry, and we can take care of that when we get to that date. Assemblyman Schmidt, Colin Schmidt, is going to host the second annual 99th Assembly District Women of Distinction event. I have the form that we need to use to nominate someone. They want to know by March the 1st who we would want to nominate. Does anybody on the board would like to tackle this?
I'll take it. If nobody else has it.
And I'm not looking for a recommendation from, if you take that one between the board and the public, if the public feels as though there's somebody out there they'd like to see. So if we could just wrestle all these together and come up with a
How
name.
many nominations do we have? One?
One.
Okay.
Yeah? All right. Did you get this?
I didn't get that.
Speaking of Assemblyman Colin Schmidt, I had the honor, pleasure of going to his office on, when did we go out there, Saturday? No, on February the 7th, February the 7th, which was Friday. And former employee and re-employed again, Jackie Stevens, got a very nice plaque and certificate from the Assemblyman. Jackie's family was there, and myself, my wife, and the highway superintendent were there at his office out in Washingtonville. So it was very nice and very well done. There'll be one more ceremony coming up this Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, where former ambulance corps Captain Marty Burns. Yeah, I get mixed up with her names because she's had a few since I've known her. But anyway, Marty Burns is going to be introduced in the assembly, I believe, in Albany on Wednesday. So I think her family is going to accompany her up there. And on Wednesday, I think everybody knows is the day I can't get out of here. Financial reports, we paid out $74,350. Group medical was $31,187. $13,849 went to de-icer, snow and salt removal. Orange and Rockland was sent a check for $22,043. That was for the streetlights. $4,000 highway department backhoe rental. The auditors who we just sat with got $7,000 for services. That was part of their fee for the 2018 audit. And the state comptroller received $19,711 for court-collected fines and fees. Any questions on that? Liaison reports. Councilman Sullivan.
Okay, I don't have a lot tonight. January 30th, I went to Colin Schmidt's office in the evening out in Washingtonville in his field office and became a Narcon certified person. And they also had a program which our chief is probably familiar with, Hope Not Handcuffs. I guess there's some Rockland County departments that are participating in this program. I think Woodbury's participating, and I have some literature on it. I don't really know a lot about it, but I have some literature on it that I'll spread around. The sewer project, the excavation for the dechlorination and the foundation for the new dechlorination building is done. It's going over to the mechanical electrical side. It's going very well so far. Been well inspected, so that's moving along well. Zoning board meets on the third Wednesday, which I don't know. Help me with the date, the 19th, I think, something like that.
That is the 19th, yep.
Okay. They'll be meeting. They have a public hearing, which is a continuance from a public hearing that wasn't closed last month. And the building department, Bob, I asked the chief, Frank actually, about the new police car being ordered because the building department will be getting 114 after the new police car is put into service. I'm gonna guess that's gonna be sometime around the end of April before that happens. Because the current building department vehicle requires an excavator to smash it to put it out of its misery. And that's my report.
Thank you. Councilman King?
Yeah, a couple of things. Good evening, everyone, and good evening, everyone at home. First is, got a chance to visit the ambulance corps a couple of times the week before last, and some good engagements there with the folks as they go through reorganization and restructuring. And so Nils need to sit down and talk with Jeff directly about some things that I know he wanted to share with me about some of the vision that he has about the future. I did not get a chance to attend that meeting on Tuesday night because by the time I had the flu, and I don't think they wanted me to share that with them, so I stayed away. But overall, good job on what you guys are doing, Jeff, down there, and please convey to the rest of the team that we appreciate what they're doing. Dial-a bus. I got a chance to meet with Colleen, and the biggest takeaway was that the ridership is up, and of course we know that the bus drivers are doing a great job. So, but I was just happy to hear, because we know in the past we've had that discussion about how many people riding and not, but she says that the ridership is up. And then one last thing, this is from Aaron. I think all of you have saw his email in reference to the challenges that he's having with the referees in the recreation arena. And wanted to know if we could have some discussion on that at some point. I don't know if we need to do it tonight or not, but you guys are familiar with that email, right?
Yeah, I responded to it. Yeah.
Okay. That's all I got.
And not to steal your thunder, but Colleen introduced me to the Saturday bus driver. I think her name is Brianna or something like that. So Saturdays are there. If you get 5 people more, we got a driver.
Yeah. That is correct.
Councilman Parry?
Just a few things. I attended the last village board meeting, and after quite a few public hearings, they have moved forward and approved the changes to the zoning regs along Main Street, not just for the proposed hotel that's there, but all along Main Street. So things are moving there. On Verizon update, I think at the last meeting I reported that the phone services were out of commission. And I think for the past couple of weeks, we've all seen all the trucks along Mountain Avenue and at the intersection of Main Street and Mountain. Major problems. We are back personally to one line, but our other line is out, and they promised me that it will be fixed by the 12th. But I think there are other people that are suffering too. I would just advise, if you haven't had phone service, when you get a chance, maybe on a cell phone, let them know that they owe you a credit for the loss of service. And then my wife has reported to me, and she attended the gathering in front of the town hall for the community makeover. and I've seen the video that was prepared. Looks very professional, and based upon what I saw, I would vote for Hometown USA, but I imagine there are others that are also submitting for that, but that's all I have, Bob.
Thank you. Thank you. I went through what I had already, although I will say that, Jeff, unless you've heard something more current on the ambulance, have you? Okay, I mean, I heard it's 99% totaled, but,
We just need the paperwork signed,
Okay.
the insurance, the adjuster.
Mickey has to meet with the adjuster again. Yeah, it's not, yeah. Pat met with him Friday,
Okay.
Mickey.
okay, but anyway, we're moving on that, but on the flip side of the coin, and not the nice side of the coin, I have a letter here canceling our ambulance. That's being manufactured for us right now. The letter's blank, it's not on the head, and it hasn't been signed yet, but I do have a letter, and as soon as they tell us that they are not going to total it, we're going to need to cancel the ambulance.
I like it, but understandable.
Yeah, because we're talking about $180,000 or so, and we just don't have that. Maybe we got 50 or so in the reserve?
I don't remember
Yeah.
maybe 40 or 50.
Yeah, yeah. I also have a draft of a resolution from Mr. Dotson, John Dotson, who is interested he's interested in this community, both Highland Falls and Fort Montgomery. He's interested in doing such power things as power grids and what have you, and his latest thing is the community choice aggregation. And I'm going to ask my expert on the board to just say 2 or 3 words about it. But unless John comes here and talks to us about it, I'm not going to pass a resolution saying we're going to support it. I have no problem if it's the right thing to do to support something like that, because anything that can save our local people money I'm interested in.
Want me to say something?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So we had, the Community Environmental Advisory Committee had Jeff Demonsky come speak on this subject back in September. June Patterson came, June Gunza came, there were quite a few people there. So we're kind of familiar with it. These community choice aggregates choose to try and bring in clean energy, and they get municipalities to pool together to get good prices. The presentation that was made in September was not competitive enough per kilowatt hour to challenge what we just renegotiated. We went from, was it Constellation to Direct Energy? We changed consultants from the old one, I don't remember, to
Computel.
M&R, I think is the new one and whatnot. And I believe we're locked in for 2 years at .053 something per kilowatt hour. It's a great price. It's more than a cent per kilowatt hour cheaper than what we were doing before. So I would love to see Mr. Dotson come and make a presentation on, I know it was Mega. Olga and I went to the Suffern Library last month and had a presentation from another community choice aggregate called Jewel, whose prices are at least as good. So they're growing, but they're not quite here yet, the way they're established in Rockland County and Westchester. I'd be interested in hearing from them, but I think we're in pretty good shape for the next 2 years.
Thank you. Dunkin' Donuts site. Do we have to, not have to, I don't mean it that way. Do they need some sort of permission to use our easement to get onto the property? I'm not following exactly what I'm asking for here.
Sure. Let me try to explain quickly, right? This is a project that was before the planning board for a couple of years before getting conditional approvals. They needed certain conditions to be satisfied before they could break ground. They have largely satisfied those conditions at this point, although they came back to the planning board to discuss a potential design change. Nothing fundamental, nothing impacting size or scope of the project, but literally the design of the building. So it's in a little bit of a holding pattern at the moment. But no, the town previously had a sewer line easement that runs through that property. In the process of planning those buildings to ensure that the line was not impacted, the developer has agreed to relocate that sewer line. There is an easement for that, there is a working easement for that, and there is a further storm management facilities agreement that the developer is responsible for. So the town has agreed. The town has also taken an escrow from the developer to provide inspection fees. So should you need to send your building inspector out, should you need to send the town engineer out, that's been accounted for and accommodated. I think the concern came in, or why there's some confusion, is that the new town engineer, Mike Tully, was catching up on the project, getting up to speed, didn't have all of the paperwork provided initially, and so wanted to make sure that either the liaison or the supervisor is asking the questions to make sure everything is appropriate and in place.
So at this point in time, there's nothing for the town board to do?
No action at this point.
Okay.
Nor should there be anything further, unless there's a change on site.
Okay, Kelly, do you have anything for us?
No.
Chief, do you have anything for us?
Chief wanted me to extend his appreciation, his thanks for the highway department, the work they did at the building. Inside the building. So I look forward to this opportunity to have interviews inside the building now, which we didn't have it prior. Also, our continuing enforcement on 9W for traffic, and we're monitoring the mountains, of course.
If,
I do have something.
okay, just 1 second. If anybody on the town board gets a chance to go by the ambulance building there, take a look at the work that was done in the hallway. They really transformed that very nicely. Put a door in, a window, and painted the whole thing. Kelly, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The audit for the dial bus that we discussed earlier, I think the board has to vote on whether or not to have RBT LLC perform that audit for $4,000.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion. We were just downstairs and when they brought that up. The audit for dial-a-bus, which should come about once every 10 years, will cost $4,000. And our regular auditor is RBT.
RBT.
I'll ask for a motion to approve the supervisor signing the agreement.
So moved, being that it's required.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Thank you. Is there anything else? The one I signed, is that for order for next year?
Yes, the 2019 audit. we
Okay,
signed,
and there's
Which
a,
was approved at the reorg meeting.
oh, we're, okay.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Chief, I got Kelly. Justin, do you have anything for us?
No, I updated you previously on the ongoing litigation matters.
Is there any other business the town board would like to discuss?
Just as time goes on, it's an uncomfortable subject. You all got the email that I sent out on as things are growing. I'm just going to make a statement that our sewer plant's annual flow average per day last year was .96, 96,000 gallons a day, and it's permitted for 120,000. That statement speaks for itself. So as we grow, there's going to come a time where we're going to have to make some decisions, and I'll leave my statement at that.
I was just gonna caveat on something Richard said in reference to the town makeover. I wanted to say thank you to all the people that was involved in putting that video together. Although it's a 10-minute or less video, a lot of work went into that. And then most importantly, the folks who came out, like your wife, thank you to those folks because that was a great spirit event. Folks coming out, showing a lot of energy and pride in their hometown. And I just wanted to say thank you to all involved in that process. And special thanks to the Chamber of Commerce and Jim and all his team there.
And with that, I'd like to say that we had a former sergeant major as a cheerleader, and he did one heck of a great job. He did a good job. Is there any public comment? Anybody want anything, say anything? Jeff, do you have anything?
We spoke about it, so I was hoping for something different.
All right.
Public comments in general, or?
Yes, in general, yeah.
I don't know if I missed it.
Please stand up to the mic and introduce yourself.
Hi, Jason Taylor from Fort Montgomery. I don't know if I missed it about the streetlights that were, last time I was here, I know they talked about the streetlights, and I think they were talking about having a certain level of Kelvin that were put in, so I don't know if that was addressed today, and I kind of wanted to know where that was stood. And I know that I thought the town board was going to look at getting if they were going to go ahead with that, getting the lowest level, the 2700 Kelvin. So I just,
That's still going,
It's
still
still-
looking for the lowest level.
okay.
Is there anything you want to bring up? on that?
We had a kickoff meeting before Christmas,
Mhm.
and at that meeting, the New York Power Authority, there's a project manager, I forget the name of the construction company. I can't remember it right now. And they needed some information, including we had to purchase the lights from Orange and Rockland, which we got a price that was half what we thought it was gonna be to do that, so that was a good start. Everybody is well aware of the bar that's been set to keep this project, to make people as happy as we can in Fort Montgomery. Indeed, 2,700 or lower, specific to certain areas. That hasn't been designed yet. The
Okay.
kickoff meeting happened, that's in the works.
Now, also, was there a plan to attach 5G antennas to those, or to be able to retrofit those?
I don't know about the 5G, there's a plan to be able to monitor them. So if one goes out, the New York Power Authority, with whom we'll have a contract to repair them, I think it's $3,000 a year, will come repair it within 2 weeks. The 5G is something I haven't heard about, but they will be called, they'll have a nodule on them, so if they burn out, they don't know about it.
I mean, I'm not in favor of them, but if we were going to put them in, I would like to see at the lowest level you could possibly do it at. And also, I'm definitely not in favor, I don't know if this is the place to talk about the 5G, but that is definitely a health risk. And what happens is, I have something here from Scientific American, so this is something, so I don't know, is this, you're saying that won't go on to the antennas, or that won't go on to the lights? Because I know
I've heard
some-
nothing to do with 5G related to
Okay.
these.
Yeah, that would be
All
a
right.
separate
All right.
project, and that
Okay.
we haven't discussed
Right.
that whatsoever.
All right, because I know some communities are putting that in, and that's definitely, there's been a lot of peer-reviewed literature, over 500 studies, publicly funded, not industry-funded, that have shown a plethora of health risks to that, especially to young people, so.
Well, keep in tune with us, and if it does come up, I'd appreciate you coming back and
Thank you.
talking to us about it. Anyone else? Jim, do you have anything? No. Paula, anything? Olga? Nobody? MJ? Ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone for attending. And again, my apologies for us being a little late.